How's it going, everybody? I hope you're having a great week. It's Krusty Old Crow, and I am doing an alternative perspective Toy review number 32. Guys, I'm going to do the Marvel Legends series mini comic Wave 2 right now, which I picked up at my local GameStop over a period of 2 days. Made a little joke about it in a Ramen Van review for the Misery Machine about how Rachel Summers' Phoenix was the last one, somehow separated from her wave in transit. But I'm going to go through these really quickly, kind of how I did with the X-Men 97 Wave 2, where I'll just briefly tell you what you're getting with each figure. Give you my notes on what I thought of that figure. My first impressions, if you would. No ratings here, but if something sucks, I'll tell you it sucks. If something's cool, I'll tell you it's cool, and we'll leave it at that. And if you guys like these kind of videos and appreciate having an entire wave done in one video as opposed to chipping away at it over several, let me know and let me know in the comments, because I can stop doing it, but I find somehow this might be more satisfying for some. And don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe, and thank you very much if you're new to the channel, and thank you especially much if you're old to the channel. Let's start this off. All right, so to kick things off, we're going to start with Hank McCoy, one of the original 5 X-Men who's seen so many different ways of being portrayed by so many different artists. He's been human, he's been blue, he's been gray, he's been evil, he's been good, he's been everything. And he wears half jumpsuit X-Men suit from the Astonishing X-Men line that Joss Whedon helped kick off back in the early 2000s or mid 2000s there. In this one, I found he was more like a cat, like a feral cat kind of appearance, and how he was presented remind me a lot of the Beauty and the Beast Disney kind of stuff, which would probably paved the way to what would eventually happen with Disney acquiring Marvel Comics afterwards. Just a coincidence at the time, but some people liked this image of him. I did. I thought he was fine. And with this series, Marvel Beast, they boast a comic accessory. So his black-backed comic accessory for this one is an issue of the Astonishing X-Men. I'm not sure if that's number 12 or somewhere in there. I'll try and do my usual editing to clarify the things I can't see on screen right now with my glasses. But, you know, this is something I'm going to tell you right now is why I think I buy the waves. Turns out I actually really appreciate these. The only one I'm missing from the first wave was Adam Warlock, because I couldn't care about him, right? I didn't care about his comic, but I do like these little novelties. I am not a fool. I know this is nothing for them to make, and I'm paying for it when I pay for the cost of the figure. But I appreciate these nostalgic look backs to the comics that these figures are coming from, right? So the Beast, he's going to come with the, the dual hinged paws, and he's going to come with these extra hands right here, right? One fist and another open hand, and it's actually a repeated open hand. He's got the same open hand twice. He wants to hold that comic at all times, but really, these hands are actually pretty good for gripping things and holding things as he's climbing over them, as I'm trying to show you in some of those shots. He has his calm face, and he has his beastie angry face, his judgy face. You're in trouble, almost as deadly as Wolverine once he gets going. So there you go, guys. That's the Beast. I do like this Beast. I like that he's posable, but I won't deny, as soon as I got him out of the box and I started posing him, that bicep on the right arm, it popped right off and popped right back in. I'm still able to pose it and move it around without it popping. I don't know if it was set loose. Don't know if the Beast might have been a Build-A-Fig at some point, but I wasn't off the gate impressed with that one. So let's move on to the next one. And before I move on to Matt Murdock, a Daredevil, that's what I was talking about there, that popping off. Seems a little too easy. Definitely easier than it is with his left arm. And there are a few little paint scratches on mine that clearly were not a part of the original plan. It's just on that one arm. It's almost like this one arm went through a real ringer of a process to get joined by the rest of the model, but I like the articulation, I like the crunch, and I like the posability of this particular beast. So let's move on to our next person, which is the Daredevil Man Without Fear, as drawn by Frank Miller back in the day, and of course the Man Without Fear story arc. Sorry, it wasn't. Was it Frank Miller or John? I think Frank Miller and John Romita had their hands in this, but John Romita Jr. I think. Either way, this look went over well enough that it eventually made its way into the Daredevil Netflix adaptation. You can see the cover art on his as well. What did they use on Beast? They used Beast beating up on Danger from the Astonishing X-Men there. And on this one, they're using a scene from the Man Without Fear series, as best as I can tell. All right, like these little nods. And what's he going to come with? Let's find him here. Daredevil, Man Without Fear. His black back is the Man Without Fear. This one's a little hard to see. Hopefully, I'll get some better shots of it here and there. But there you go. And that's why I think that's John Romita Jr. drawing that on cover for that one. But great little nod there. I don't think I ever had that series. I don't think I was very into Daredevil at that time, but I like seeing it. He's going to come with just some standard inclusion hands for what he is, right? He's going to have a trigger figure hand, which is really just for him to hold his comic book, and then a pair of punchy fists on top of these are the ones he should be using the most at that point in his life if you follow the Netflix adaptation. But he's also coming with a Billy Club little white lanyard that goes around it, and I can wrap that around his wrist. I just didn't for this grip, but he's got a hand to hold that, and then he's got a splayed out blind man fighting hand. But great little details there. You can see the blonde hair. He's clean shaven. They didn't do a Charlie Cox and make his hair dark and he was unshaven. They did Matt Murdock from The Man Without Fear, right? So we've got this great jumpsuit, bone or pinless elbows and knees. And sorry, I should have mentioned that with the Beast, same thing, pinless knees. Both got some good butterfly joints going on there at the articulation points, but they have different hinges, right? Beast using that single hinge point crunch on top of that ball joint, wherein Matt's tracksuit is just it's a waist pivot and a torso pivot ball there, and you can hear that click. But I do like this tracksuit, and you can definitely think that maybe some head swaps would. Maybe your GI Joes can go on PT and go for a morning jog. Maybe you want to do some thieves for your police to stop, what have you. But I might actually pick up a couple of these bucks down the road. He's got low ankle rockers, no calf cut, because he's got these nice running shoes. No toe pivot on that, and that wasn't really needed. You can get some good fighting out of him, just like you'd expect. And then I think, yeah, it looks like they did end up leaving the hoodie loose at the front, but it does seem sealed onto the back somehow. So I don't know if that's designed to be removable. Anyways, Matt Murdock in a different outfit, Daredevil, and the Man Without Fear variant. Not going to be everybody's cup of tea for a Daredevil, but definitely sparked an interest of mine that I think I do want more than one. So there we go. So where are we going to go from that? We're going to move on to the next one in my rotation, which is going to be Norrin Radd, the Herald of Galactus Silver Surfer. And there you can see the Silver Surfer #1 issue, the Jack Kirby style art for that one. I'm not sure if that's actually the Jack Kirby art, but it's the style, right, inspired by him. I was never a big Silver Surfer kid. I didn't like anything that happened off of Earth, so I wasn't into Inhumans. Didn't really care about Guardians of the Galaxy or Silver Surfer or any of that stuff. It really wasn't. Maybe I wasn't Jack Kirby's favorite fan, right? But this figure, and my age, I respected the property of it, but this figure would change anyone's mind. I do think this is probably the best figure in the wave, and that's hard for me to say because I thought I already had an opinion on that when I was going after it. There was a couple of impressors here, but this one, just the way that this buck was painted with the silver, it's not too much, it's not chrome vac sealed or anything like that, but it's a beautiful polished, like aluminum kind of coating to it. The pinless knees and elbows again, but he's got all the right articulation points. You can see that calf cut, thigh cut. The butterfly rocks backwards and forwards, really nice. The only thing I would say is objectively, I wish they didn't put a backpack hole in there for him and left him that way. And maybe instead of a thigh rotation, do what they've been doing and give it the thigh rotation and the torso, because this is a man surfing the cosmos. Of course, I like the board a lot, and I like the simplicity of it. It's got a single foot peg, as you can see, that I'm utilizing, right? You can pose him and balance him on a lot of ways on the board with just it sitting on the ground, no problems, right? But this is one where maybe I go and dig up an old Fortnite snowboard stand and have them gliding. Maybe I need a flight stand for this one, but the ones I have don't feel right for it. But definitely the big impressor of the bunch for me. And I'll show you the ridge surfboard lines here, and that works for it because just like all the figures, he has to have a set of hands, which I'll show you here, including the one that he has there. This one inclusive, that has to hold this comic, right? That's the gimmick, that's the plug, so they all have to accommodate it. But he also comes with a pair of punchy fists, and most importantly, on any other figure, we'd call these the Judy Chap hands, but they're not. They're the Rod Surf Dude hands, like hanging fall, bro. Okay, so Silver Surfer, looking fine, looking lean, looking mean, probably the best one in the bunch. Moving on. Next up is the one that I didn't want out of this wave for most reasons other than the comic book, and that is X-Force's Feral, who came out when the New Mutants were transformed into X-Force under Cable's guidance back in the late 80s, early 90s. And she was the Rob Liefeld contribution to the fact that every team needed to have some sort of animalesque brawler, savage wild child to them. Every team had one, just like a strong guy, right? You needed a wild guy. And Feral was theirs, and they tried to give her depth by giving her a sister. I think it was Thorn. And I just saw a poorly written character, didn't really care for her. And as a figure, she was just a really bad ad hoc Tigra wannabe kind of thing. She's got her Wolverine haircut, her saber tooth smile, and Joker garb here. And just a few things wrong with this figure. The tail has to feed through this what do you call that, loincloth system, just like it did with Tiger and other feline figures, right? But the problem is this is a crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Like your savage brawlers needs to be able to get down and get some poses, and this thing's going to get bent every now and then. And every time this moves, it seems to want to pop that tail out. She's going to come with a couple of extra hand options herself, the punchy fist, and that's it. But the glorious part of Feral that made her worth having is, her Marvel comic is the X-Force #1 issue, which I had this. I had a polybagged, I had different variants because I remember coming with a playing card. Would have loved to seen a little playing card, raised piece right here, sitting there, random playing card or collector card. But this is the one that has the gatefold cover, and they did that for this one. So I thought that was cool. And I think I saw Punk A Thon mention that on his. So I watched for it, and sure enough, I was like, yeah, they're the only one that did the gatefold. But that's not the only special comic in here that has a unique idea about it. So, again, Feral, probably the worst of the wave. But I do also hear that some people are really looking forward to her, and she is a very posable figure the way that they've got her. She's got the pinless knees and elbows. She doesn't have a calf cut. She has ankle rockers instead. No toe bend. And just this tail is a problem for me. So let's move on to somebody I can probably appreciate a little bit more in the wave. This one has its place in my Houses of Xavier collection because I am a fan of mutants, and she does belong there. But thankfully, she will be the first and only one I buy of that one. So let's move on to someone else more appealing. So here we go with the one that I was really looking forward to in this wave. Like this one more than most. I'm talking about the Black Widow, that was the 80s Natasha Romanoff. This was how I got introduced to Black Widow in the Marvel Comics in the 80s. The sex appeal of the old British Avengers series, the low-cut bodysuit with those widow bite or widow sting, whatever, gauntlets fired. She had the short red hair and everything like that. But what they put this one out for also appealed to me even more. And it was, again, the comic feature. It was Uncanny X-Men #268. a story where they go back to, I believe, the World War II era, or an earlier time where Logan worked with Captain America and Black Widow against the Hand, and it was I believe it was the Hand they were fighting at that time. But it was also the first time I think Jim Lee did an X-Men comic, and I remember the impact this had. This was like, wow, this is the new standard for X-Men art, right? Before this, it was guys like John Romita and Mark Silvestri and other guys like that cutting their teeth. But Jim Lee changed the game for the X-Men. So this comic, again, having the white back, but that's what it was for me. This is a really cool representation, but here they've made the choice not to have the back hole in there. And after certain figures I've reviewed, like Mystique, I kind of glad that I'm seeing a complete back with no inattention. She's got her Black Widow logo on the back there. You can see that upper torso bend. You can hear that ratchet click, and then she's got her there. You know, I'm sure you can appreciate this view as I discovered the calf or the thigh swivel, but no calf swivel again. It's all on an ankle rockers, pinless elbows and knees, and then two handsets. One to hold the comic book there. Sorry, not handsets. Two additional hands. One to hold the comic book. One punchy fist. The comic book, like I showed, and then you have to remove the hands anyways. So there's your splayed ones, which have the rotator, so you can see that she's firing it from an underslung, like Spider-Man's webs in some series, or she can be firing it straight armed, like off the top blast, things like that. But they give you the shooty gauntlets, and I'm sure these were probably included in some other Black Widow set at some form. They must have been, right? This is a no-brainer. They should have those. But then you have the very colorful, smoldering ones, right? With the smoke coming off them, and it's got the red glow because it's the Black Widow from the Red Room, right? That Widow bite sting. So really cool, and then a really nice face sculpt to that. The right makeup apps, and that bang hanging over her eye, which was all the rage back in the 80s, boys. Really cool fig. Really like that. Like the paint apps on it. Love that they didn't over sexualize her, but they didn't under sexualize her. They did it right with this one. So there you go. Black Widow, probably one of my preferred, definitely in the top three. Probably in the top three for sure. It's hard to decide on which order the top three goes into, but let's move on to our last representation of it. And here we have the last one. It is Excalibur's Phoenix, the daughter of Jean Grey, Rachel Summers, from the Days of Future Past timeline, brought back into the main X-Men continuity. She was right around when I first started collecting X-Men. I remember her falling to a battle with Nimrod and having to go through Spiral's body works for being repaired. And this costume always just was the shit with me. Pardon me for using that colorful language, but it's the shit. This was her Hound costume. In the Days of Future Past, Rachel Summers was a mutant, and of course, the Sentinels and the government were hunting and committing genocide against mutants. But she worked for them. She was mind controlled to use her abilities to track mutants, and so she was called a Hound. And you got that body glove suit with the little simple pennant spikes on there, up the arms and down the front of the torso and right up the collar area, right? And you get one of two head-up features on there. I'll show you. It's just like Black Widow for articulation. They don't have the butterfly joints on this one that but Black Widow did have. You see that she had butterflies in this one, doesn't? Which is a damn shame. But otherwise, the reuse here is probably a Shriek Buck or somebody else. No waist rotation. It's all done in the torso. Thigh cut, no calf. Still pinless elbows, knees. They all had it, but a little less articulation in the torso design for this telepath. I like this. This is her powers activated. I'm hunting you down, you dog look. And of course, she's got her little. Back in the 80s, we called this the rat tail. This was like the next phase of the mullet that could be worn by men and women alike. But you can see her bangs all teased up, like something about Mary just hit her in the face. But a much prettier and more innocent looking head sculpt. Again, they've got the right makeup apps on there, and I'm holding her by that little rat tail there. So she'll come with extra hands, and they're just, again, the comic book holding hand and a fist, and of course these splayed finger hands. And now this is the thing. She was the last one I got out of the wave. I got her late, and I was really excited to get her today. I noticed when I pulled this hand out and put it back in, because you have to remove the hands to put these wing loops through the arms. That's how they work. When I put it back in, the wrist bent as I was pushing down, and I see a little white on the pin of these wrists. So I'm very doubtfully not going to take that out too many times. But the white was showing up right at that wrist ball there, and I'll try and show in the pictures maybe. But so just be careful, I find, just like most of the female, demure, delicate books, they have small pins on small features, right? Like the little delicate hands have the delicate pins. But listen, this Rachel Summers was why I was so after this wave. All the other figures along, except for Farrell, were all like, yeah, man, and I'll get that, and I'll get that. I really like that. Farrell was the one I bought just to say I've completed this wave and to say I've contributed to my X-Force collection, even the characters I had zero respect for, and I got that X-Force comic. But that's going to be my review, guys. So out of all of them, were there any that weren't worthy? Yeah, Farrell. To me, the outing on her worthiness was as a figure. I think she, this tail was a real weak grab. Not having a second head feature that shows her calmer was also a weak grab. This character was very one-dimensional as I saw it before. And while she has good head rotation and you can get some kitty cat poses out of her, I don't think she's worthy of having joined this line and to have the honor of having the X-Force comic gatefold included with her. But that's just how I feel about her. I would also say that the Beast ran a risk of not being worthy in having that really seemingly defective arm that, which one was it as I pull? This one, his right arm, seemingly a little looser than it should be and having some savagely missed paint apps or scratches on there. But I'll let him be worthy because I do like the work they put into him. And I think overall, he's a pretty damn fine figure, actually. Everybody else, very worthy in my books, but you guys might have a different opinion, and that's okay. I'm the one playing with them. I'll decide what I think. And you guys, if you go buy them, you let me know what you thought of them. Hit me up in the comments. I love hearing from you. But that's going to do it for this. The Marvel Legends series mini comic, piece of tape, mini comic wave. What did you guys think? This is wave 2. Did you guys buy all of wave 1? Are you interested in wave 2? Did you have a favorite? You know the drill. Talk to me. I'll answer you back as best I can. Till then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on An Alternative Perspective.